My last video about the latest PTS from Massive in Tom Clancy's The Division 2 complained a lot about the new gear we're getting, but I didn't get into any solutions. Today we rectify that and try and set the devs straight on what will actually make the new gear viable. Hey agents, it's Dispatch. Welcome to the channel, where we talk about the math, builds, lore, and game design of Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Let's get stuck into it. First, the gear set breaking point. We've got problems. The set is bugged, at least with the 1886 and the Ravenous, where the stacks don't match the actual mag size. Hopefully this gets fixed. Bugs aside, let's look at the mechanics. Rifles already come with 18% critical hit damage as their secondary attribute. Since critical hit damage and headshot damage are added together in the same multiplier, we usually don't build for both. What does breaking point, what I like to call BRP, come with? Headshot damage. In addition, no one in their right mind is going to try and stack the buff off of headshots, given your hit percentage is going to be drastically reduced. You need to reload to trigger the talent, which means you're going to throw a reload in maybe mid-mag, wasting precious seconds and adding mental load to a set for no reason. The refill of magazine on swap only helps us when we reach the end of the buff, and the wording for this portion of talent is terrible. It's very confusing. The set gives us a bit of handling, which is welcome for stacking the talent. The way this talent is set up, you want to fire as fast as possible so you can get to the bonus. Then once the bonus is active, you want to fire as fast as possible to get the maximum damage out of the talent. So this set is going the exact opposite direction of what I was campaigning for. Instead of slowing down and being more deliberate, you're incentivized to break your fingers spamming the trigger and giving yourself RSI. The devs seem to be trolling us with the name of the set being Breaking Point. So in its very concept, I'm 100% against this set's design philosophy. Before we move on to other options, I'll set aside my own feelings and focus on the shortest path to success with this set. I'll call these quick solutions. The third piece bonus should give us crit damage, and I'll be fine if they keep the headshot damage as well. I mean, why not? Now for the talent. If we're using a 50 round mag, we're going to get about 10% multiplicative damage to about 48% multiplicative damage. If we're using the backpack, that goes up to 67% damage. This is of course with 26% expertise, which will be the new level once the gear set comes out. With 0 expertise, it goes from 22% to 65% and 86% respectively. The backpack raising the stack damage from 2 to 3% per stack doesn't make any sense, literally no sense, because throwing on composure, which will always be active, will give you more damage inside the damage window and way more damage outside of the damage window. Now, I'm going to take back what I said in my previous video, saying that this needs to be amplified damage. The set simply needs to have a higher value to compensate for it being additive with other sources of weapon damage. Comparing it to Striker, Striker goes from 0 amplified damage to 65 to 100% with the backpack, and that can be kept up. Hell, you can run a rifle with Striker as long as you use something else to stack it up, and you'll get more damage. Sounds crazy, but it's actually better than this set, and let's talk about why. So we come upon the real issue with this set. Uptime. Stacking up 50 stacks is going to take a long time, maybe a mag and a half to 2 mags. Then you're panic spam firing your weapon to try and get the maximum benefit before it runs out. If you're crazy and using Striker with the rifle, once you get it stacked with a shotgun or a Vector or AR, you just switch to your rifle. It takes 25 seconds to get down to 50 stacks, and then another 50 seconds to get to 0 stacks. So you have a minute and a quarter to do damage, higher damage than Breaking Point, and it's easier to stack. Every gear set should give something unique in terms of benefits, tempered by skill, playstyle, or uptime. This set is lackluster in almost all of those. So again, let's talk about the solutions beyond just increasing the damage. Decreasing the number of stacks required to hit that damage would also be good. Alright, so first let's step through the quick solutions. Number 1. Have the talent start as soon as you hit max stacks and pause while reloading. Number 2. Have the talent stacks only be used up by hits instead of time. This would guarantee a certain uptime and makes much better sense for MMRs as well. Number 3, have the talent stack while the buff is active. Number 4, have 50 stacks no matter how big the mag size is. Smaller mag rifles are still disincentivized by having to do multiple reloads during stacking. With the way it is currently, the smaller mag rifles will be completely out of the meta. There's absolutely no way you take an M1A with 15 stacks over a rifle with 50 stacks. That makes no sense. This would also have to be paired with another solution in this list. Number 5, have the buff activate upon gaining stacks like Striker. Have this either penalize misses or have the kills refill the mag like the Dread Edict, and stacks only are lost on reload. We need to have a mechanic in there to avoid reloads, or use Ninja Bike needs or Dread Edict or some other creative way to avoid losing the buff. That way you can get more uptime out of it. Number 6, have the buff guarantee crits in some way. This would synergize with crit talents like Obliterate, Clutch, etc. Number 7, have an invincibility phase while the buff is active, or some significant repairs so we can get aggressive during the damage phase to take maximum benefit out of it. Alright, let's talk about some other solutions outside of reworking this gear set. Number 8, repurpose Hot Shot. We would want to add crit damage as well, allow body shots to keep stacking the talent. If you want to hit body shots with an MMR, be my guest, but let's not penalize for it so we can allow rifles to work as well. We should increase the bonus by a lot. For MMRs, the bonus damage is pretty much inconsequential since Headhunter exists, so bump it up for rifles, or simply have 2 separate values, one for rifles, one for MMRs. I love how this set is bereft of the Striker build kind of talents we've seen a lot, where you need to build up huge stacks of a buff in order to get benefit. Let's get something that gives you a lot more up front, which is kind of the name of the game with rifles. The repair is also really nice and would also give rifles a way of healing that they're lacking right now. I also like how this set rewards slowing down and increasing your skill of hitting shots to get the bonuses. Number 9. We could use the previous idea I had of buffing the aces and 8s damage and having it apply to rifles with more crit as well. Number 10. Just buff brand bonuses a bit and have rifles be the simple, high-end build weapon of choice. It's just use a rifle, use your high-end build, you're just blam blam blam, you got high weapon damage and high crit values. Easy. These are just a handful of ideas that I've come up with over the past couple of days. All of these are better than what we currently have, and at least some of them need to be implemented in order for BRP to have a chance of being used in this game. Now let's transition to talking about some other changes to other items in the game that we should talk about before closing out the video. Entrench. Entrench in the base game sucks. It's awesome in Descent. Why is that? Because in Descent, once you upgrade it, you can get the activation level much higher and the repair much higher, and because it's not competing with damage talents. What I mean by activation level is the amount of armor you need to have lost before the talent can activate. If you're less than 30% armor, you probably don't want to stick your head out and try and go for a headshot, especially for a measly 20 or 30% armor back. Instead, if you're already in cover, you just up an armor kit. I also think it's hilarious how there's a cooldown. You have to wait 2 or 3 seconds before you can get another measly 20 or 30% armor, provided that the first bit of repair didn't get you out of that danger zone. What the hell? Popping an armor kit takes 2 to 3 seconds anyway. Like, just, what? Honestly, if there was a clutch type exception to the activation level and no cooldown, this talent might have a chance. But even then, it'll lose to the damage talents in the chest slot. And why would you run this instead of something like Galvanize that gives you 40% bonus armor whenever you need it at any activation level? Generally, the chest damage talents are better than the backpack damage talents, so Obliterate, Glass Cannon, or Headhunter would go in this spot, and you'd use a repair backpack talent if you needed it. Alright, now the Overlord Exotic Shotgun. I know lots of people have been complaining about this, but we're going to dig into it anyway. A measly 16% movement speed debuff means nothing in isolation, and is actively embarrassing when you consider the fact that a different exotic shotgun, the Scorpio, can apply a 100% movement speed debuff instead. Oh, and by the way, these 100% movement speed debuffs also prevent the enemy from shooting us for a short period as well. Let's also not forget that the lefty shotgun applies a movement speed debuff when you use a grenade, and both of these, the Scorpio and the lefty, apply a damage debuff to the enemies as well, so you'll be doing more damage to those enemies. If the Overlord remains a shotgun and isn't completely changed in concept, I'd make each pellet completely stop the enemies like a riot foam chem launcher. It becomes like a crowd control weapon that doesn't require skills. Its only purpose is to completely stop a wave in its tracks. This is balanced by the fact that enemies can shoot back, and you have to be pretty close to make it work. The long reload of the KSG would also be problematic, but honestly, I'd rather have it be an LMG that did a similar thing, so it was synergized with True Patriot or something. But I'm just blown away by how stupid the original exotic is that there are too many other options to really list them all. Alright agents, that's all I got for this one. The devs really should have made things easy on themselves and just repurposed hotshot or aces for rifles, but instead they produced a useless gear set that requires a lot of work to make viable. Hopefully they get something out of this and they hear the community and can adjust before bringing it to the main game. In addition, Entrenched still sucks, and the new Overlord exotic just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So overall, as everyone knows, this has been an extremely disappointing and worrying PTS. We continue to add more and more stuff that's either going to get stuck in the stash or get deconstructed immediately. There's a target-rich environment. There are so many exotics, gear sets, chest and backpack talents that they could be tweaking right now instead of bringing us more trash. Let's hope that they actually try and tackle some of these. Hit this video up with a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, your family, your coworkers, random people you see on the street, your barber, you know, all the people. Comment down below with your fantastic ideas, as all feedback is welcome. As I said in my last video, the comments have really been amazing and I've loved reading them, so keep them coming. Be sure as well to look at our playlists and check out which ones seem interesting to you. If there's any content you think I'm missing that you'd like to see as well, let me know. Alright agents, once again, until next time, this has been Dispatch. Take care out there.